Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan. And as you can see, I'm in my travels again. I've got some great stuff coming up over the next 72 hours, and I'm sure you'll all love it. However, before that, a 10-minute moan. And this 10-minute moan is about a story I was listening to on the way down from Glasgow. I'm currently in the M6 heading south. Well, from Glasgow, you're not going to be the M6 heading north, are you? Anyway, so I was listening to GB News most of the day. And Martin Dobry was talking about, was he? Was it Run Beforehand? Might be wrong there, but one of the presenters was talking about the soldiers, ex-soldiers, and about, and it was a guy, an Irish guy, who's the veterans minister. Absolutely cracking the things he was telling us, right? And it was this thing again, whereby guys who 40 years ago were dealing in quite a horrific guerrilla warfare situation on our own doorstep over in Belfast and in, whole of Northern Ireland. And they were under orders to go and, do some scary things and fight against a terrorist organisation. A terrorist organisation had killed and maimed people far and wide, even reached our own soil on the mainland. So it was a bit of a job. And what we're doing now is we're still contemplating changing legislation that would allow these people who are getting on in age now, a lot of them, the possibility of being taken to a court of law for things they've done in our armed services. And a thing that was a war zone, although nobody wanted to call it a war zone, because having a war zone in your own country is quite a big thing to claim. So we referred to it quite cuddly as the Troubles, right? There was a war going on. Anyway, these guys who done their bit for Queen and Country and the safety of British citizens in Northern Ireland and the mainland, we keep every few years this thing rears its head again, where we're looking to change regulations and laws that would see these people potentially prosecuted for doing things for their benefit. Now, listen, being a soldier, being in a war, you've still got things you need to, you need to do. There's laws and there's rules and there's morals that you need to oblige to carry out. Can you go raping people, for example, right? Doing stuff like that. That's evidently wrong. But that's not the sort of stuff we're talking about here. And unless I've not been that brave to sign up, but unless you've signed up, served in the forces and actually seen active service, do not tell and come and judge those who have and the things that you must witness, the things and emotions that you must go through. Because I'm very fortunate because I wasn't brave enough to sign up. I've not had to face those sort of things, and hat off to every single person that has. And the reason for this video is it's Armed Forces Day tomorrow, right? So it's quite fitting time to be talking about it. Show armed forces, everyone, current or previous, and particularly those that have passed away and braved their life while serving this country, to talk about them. And I think it's despicable. And I've said this about a lot of things. You know, the way we, during COVID, that summer, 2020, we had people dragging statues and putting them in harbours and things like that, right? And there's a similar thing going on here. Because what we're doing with these people who might have been tobacco empire builders back in the day, right? We're judging them on today's standards, although they didn't live and do their things in the day. And I'm quite sure 100 years from now, in fact, probably not even as much as that, there'll be people that will be judged by the next generation at the current society and rules of society. And that's wrong. You can't judge somebody by today's standards when they lived yesterday. That's just ridiculous. And that's kind of what's going on here as well, with the threat hanging over the heads of people that the rules might change and they could possibly receive prison sentences for things they've done in a different day. When the rules of that day allowed them to do whatever they've done. Just because even if society does move on and we go, listen, wars are bad, we're going to outlaw wars. So anybody that's ever took part in a war we're going to send you to jail. That would just be ridiculous. And that's kind of what you would need to do. You need to be judging people of yesterday by today's standards of society ever got there. So I'm sorry, I can't be abiding by this much longer, right? And again, it seems to be dressed up as if it might be good because it might mean we could jail a terrorist or two. And that may be true. But that's never really how these things work, is it? 9 times out of 10, it's a terrorist that's the beneficiary. Is that right? Beneficiary, benefactor, whatever way around it is, of things like this. So, I'm not wearing it. What we need to do, see if we're going to be giving out guarantees to anybody for their acts in the past, we need to give it to our armed forces. And say, do you know what? You served your country. You served it in some dangerous times. We put you in some dangerous situations. But see, from now onwards, we're going to give you a pass card. But you've given many terrorists in the past where you cannot be prosecuted for your actions between certain dates. Because that's kind of, we give clemency to plenty of people. Why doesn't somebody stand up in Parliament and say, I want to push a bill through whereby we protect our armed forces, regardless of how society changes or law changes going forward. Anybody before this date who's served cannot be prosecuted. Then you can do whatever the hell you want with terrorists. You can have, put them in the normal laws, right? But why not stand up and protect our ex and current? Obviously, some of them might still active in the job. But can we just maybe do something that protects them? Doesn't he have them going to bed some nights thinking, God, am I going to get a chap at the door for something I done in 1978 or 1982 or whenever the worst of the worst was, going over in the Troubles, as they called it. Well, that's kind of what I think we should do. So there we go. Stop. It's Armed Forces Day tomorrow. So let's kind of give them a thought or two. And instead of coming up with stupid changes of law that could maybe jail the odd terrorist, but equally give our ex-forces some sleepless nights, and just get them all clemency. Just say, do you know what? Unless it's something that's illegal outside war, like rape, something like that, robbery, right? But we train you to kill. It's kind of what we've done. Put you in a situation where you may have done that. And now, 40 years later, got you worried in your bed that we might get a chap at the door and arrested. Let's not do that. That doesn't make sense to me. So, if you want others to see this, thumbs up, click that, put some comments below and hit the share button. If you've not already done so, please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you do, you want to be notified when I put videos out, click the notification bell. But the most important thing than all that, unless you are the type of person that wants to put bills through Parliament that could put some of your ex-service personnel in custodial sentences, then not you. But everyone else, have a great day. Cheery bye now.